Hello everyone and welcome to Carlton Carnivores again. I'm back here with another species spotlight for you guys, and we're sticking with the Indo-Chinese Nepenthes theme still. The one that I've got for you today is a particularly special species though, considering the history that it has related to the whole Indo-Chinese group, and that is Nepenthes thorelii. This is a species that has caused a lot of confusion and controversy within the Indo-Chinese group, and then by extension any and all hybrids that were made with a lot of the Indo-Chinese species way back when. So this species was first collected somewhere around 1903 and officially described in 1909, and then it vanished from record for over a century. This species was not officially known to be recorded, not officially known to be in cultivation for over 100 years between those periods. And that original description is also problematic because there was material in it that referenced species other than thorelii as well. It resurfaced with a couple of expeditions made by Francois May and a few other researchers into southern Vietnam. They found it in 2011 and then a couple other populations in years that followed. And at that point, finally, true specimens of thorelii entered cultivation. So before 2011, any hybrid out there that was made with supposed thorelii should be relabeled. Many of them were actually made with species like Bocarensis, Smilesii, Campotiana, and sometimes just a random mix of species. So labeling it as spec Indochina cross whatever is probably the best overall, unless it's like obviously a Bocarensis cross. Crosses that have been made since then, though, have often featured the true species, and so those have also showed some of the distinctive traits of thorelii. This is a species that, again, is currently known to be endemic only to southern Vietnam, and is only found in a couple of very, very small relict populations scattered across the area. Only two officially that are known, and one of them is protected within a park, but the other one is at risk. They're all very small populations, though, only maybe a couple hundred plants at most in each of them. It's kind of a unique species in the Indo-Chinese pyrophyte group in that it is kind of a very strict habitat requirement plant. They only grow along the margins of swampy areas, so regions within this environment that, again, the Indo-Chinese group is known as the pyrophyte complex as well because they're adapted to dry seasons and fire, but these guys growing along swamps are a little bit less drought tolerant than the rest. Now, they do produce the tuberous rootstocks that the group is known for, but they prefer a little bit more moist conditions than a lot of the rest. Now, plants often, they still kind of follow the same growth patterns as a lot of the others. They grow fast during the growing season, they flower, and then they die back as conditions start to dry out. So this species often grows no more than maybe a foot and a half tall, and sometimes will flower in a rosette stage. They have, when they're young, they have slightly broader leaves, like mine does right now, this new rosette that it's produced after the last vine kind of died off. The leaves they can be slightly obovate when they're young, but as they grow up, those leaves elongate, they stretch out into very thin, linear, kind of lanceolate leaves, and rather distinctly, they kind of form this kind of folded V shape. And the entire plant is also covered by a very, very thin layer of hairs. Most of them are white hairs, but there's also a few kind of brownish hairs that you might find on the midrib of the vein, running down the base, the middle of the leaf, or on the pitchers. That indumentum is one thing you can use to distinguish it from other species. That kind of really elongate and folded leaf structure is also another thing that distinguishes this species from its relatives. But in this species, unlike some of the other groups where the pitchers are really, really variable, the pitchers in this species are very, very distinctive. Now again, because this is a fairly young rosette, mine are not quite as distinctive as they will become, but when the plant is producing fully mature lower pitchers, they are all more or less globose all the way throughout. So very fat, very rounded pitchers that kind of tuck in, they contract right near where the mouth is. They have a moderately thick, sometimes crenellated peristome, and they are often this rich, deep mottled red coloration as well. But that fat pitcher shape is very distinct. It's not really seen in any other Indochinese species other than maybe orbiculata, the former Mirabilis globosa. It's related fairly closely to Campotiana, which does have somewhat fat pitchers, and sometimes they can be globose, but Campotiana usually has a thinner, more cylindric upper portion to the pitcher, unlike thorelii. And that shape kind of carries over when it starts producing upper pitchers as well. Unlike a lot of other Indochinese species, which have very thin, tubular traps, the upper pitchers of thorelii are very wide, funnel-shaped, and again, kind of globose, bulbous in the top part of the trap as well. So it's a very, very distinctive species from the rest of the group in that way. But it can still be kind of grown in the same way as all the other species can. Again, when you take cuttings, when the vines start to get long and they start to stall during the dry season, you can cut those and usually just put in some moss or water. They'll root fairly easily. But to grow them, you want a hot environment. Some Indochinese species grow in places where it gets cold. This one does not. The lowlands in Vietnam, where these guys grow 10 to 20 meters in elevation, so that's 30 to 60 feet above sea level, it stays hot all the time. So 85, 90, 95 degrees during the day and dropping down no lower than the mid-70s at night is what these guys tend to like. So keeping it warm and moderately humid with the best growth. The pictures on this guy are kind of floppy a little bit because I just went through repotting it, and he's been sitting in the lower humidity near the floor of the greenhouse, so they've been kind of flopping over a bit. So they like moderate humidity. You can acclimate it to a variation in conditions, but that warmth is really important for these guys. And then the soil should be fairly loose and airy, something that is able to dry out some when the seasons change for these guys, dry out a little bit during summer, and then wetter during winter when they're going to grow more happily. So I use, it's roughly the same mix that I grow most of my Nepenthes in, a 1-to-1-to-1 sphagnum, perlite, and cocoa chip mix. I do put a little more perlite and the cocoa chips in this one because, again, I want it to drain well and to dry out a little easier for this species. But once you get that soil down and you keep them in warm conditions, it's a fairly easy, straightforward species to grow, just like its relatives. And an absolutely beautiful and very, very rare plant still to do so. That is about all that I have for this species right now. Again, I'm going to be continuing this little series on especially the Indochinese species for a little bit. I've got several more species that I'm going to be going through and repotting soon, and I'll be featuring them as I do that, and you'll see those in the coming weeks. If you have questions on this particular species, or if there's another one that you'd really like to see featured, you can leave comments below. And of course, comments really help with the channel too. It signifies engagement, which YouTube tracks to promote the channel. If you enjoy videos like this, do make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything out coming up. And watch the videos all the way through. The watch hours are really important for the channel as well. And of course, if you want to see more photos and tidbits and such, I'm always posting things on social media, Instagram, Facebook. I have been posting on TikTok, but TikTok has been a bit of a butt recently, so that might end. I've still got stuff on there if you'd like to look at that, though. If you'd like to support in a more financial manner, again, I sell these plants on my website at carltoncarnivores.com. You can also find information there, the database and blog that I also have. But you can also, there's merch at our Teespring shop, and you can also become a member at Patreon, patreon.com/hcarlton. Members there get exclusive benefits back, like early access to the videos that I release, the monthly seed contest that I do. They get the earliest notices for new plants and such coming into the website shop. Or you can also donate. If you don't want to do a monthly thing, you can donate at coffee.com. All the links for these will be in the video description below. But until next time, I'm Hawk and Carlton, and this is Carlton Carnivores.